$621,161,000. That's how much the first real-world Bitcoin transaction is worth today. But at the time, it only bought 2 pizzas. But what led to this historic moment, and where is everyone involved today? Let's mine deep. If I were to ask you how long after Bitcoin's invention was it first used for a real-world purchase, what would your guess be? 5 years? 6? Actually, it only took just over 1 year. Bitcoin went live at the beginning of 2009, and by May of 2010, a Bitcoin enthusiast by the alias Jerkos stumbled across this post on the Bitcoin Talk forum. I'll pay 10,000 Bitcoins for a couple of pizzas. Remember, at this point in time, nobody had ever bought anything in real life for Bitcoin, so to call this post a shot in the dark is an understatement. Still, the post must have caught Jerkos' attention because 3 days later, he reached out to Laszlo with a proposition. He was to order 2 large pizzas from Papa John's to be delivered to Laszlo's house in return for 10,000 Bitcoin. And with the benefit of hindsight, this is obviously a sweet deal for Jerkos, but never underestimate the lengths a hungry man will go to acquire some pizza. Laszlo accepted Jerkos' deal. And a day later, on May 22nd, 2010, another post from Laszlo, this time with some pictures that would make history. You're currently looking at the world's first physical item ever bought with digital, decentralized bare asset money, and likely the youngest kid to ever eat a meal worth $621 million. It's easy to overlook the significance of this moment, but it undoubtedly had a major impact on Bitcoin's perceived value in the real world. 2 large pizzas for a man, 1 giant leap towards decentralization for mankind. But where are Jerkos and Laszlo now? Before you say it, no, Laszlo is not crying in a corner somewhere thinking about how rich he could have been. He doesn't regret his purchase because, like many Bitcoiners, he knows that what's happening with Bitcoin is much bigger than the profits of any individual. And by contributing to Bitcoin origin story in such an important way, Laszlo and Jerkos irreversibly made the world a better place. So why should you care? At the time, the post seemed insignificant, but that's only because the world had yet to fully grasp the significance of Bitcoin itself. We didn't fully understand what Bitcoin was or what it meant for the world.
Satoshi created a computer program, and that program creates 21 million virtual coins in cyberspace. He created perfect digital gold on an open monetary network. And so that means if you wanted to save $1,000 and you wanted to have it beyond the reach of a company, a CEO, a government, a bank, and you wanted to have personal custody of it, you could have that with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a technical solution to give 8 billion people property rights.
But as those things become increasingly clear, moments like Pizza Day are etched deeper into the stone of history, until what was one nothing but a hungry Bitcoiner with a fun idea is eventually taught to your grandchildren in school. And that's the thing, we are still so early, and you can still play a role in this monetary revolution. So keep working, keep building, and maybe one day your grandchild's school teacher will mention your name along Laszlo's. Okay, now I want pizza. Don't miss Pete Rizzo Backstage. We just talked about one of the most important days in Bitcoin history, the Bitcoin Pizza Day. The Bitcoin Pizza Day impacted Bitcoin's history.
Bitcoin Pizza Day is pretty much the big holiday, right? If you ask somebody on the street what they know about Bitcoin, or if they've heard of a Bitcoin holiday, they've probably heard of Bitcoin Pizza Day. And yeah, that's the celebration of the first real-world Bitcoin transaction. When a Floridian named Laszlo Hanyecz decided he was hungry, he wanted to see if his Bitcoins had any value. He decided to ask the internet if they would buy 2 pizzas for him, and he was willing to exchange 10,000 Bitcoin for that.
So if we were to go back in time, what are those iconic moments in Bitcoin history that struck the most to you, that were so crucial to Bitcoin's, trajectory?
Well, in order for Laszlo to purchase his pizza, Satoshi had to invent Bitcoin. He had to overcome several computer science challenges that were unprecedented, and obviously that's a huge achievement. And then after that, you have people who came together and priced a Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin had to have some amount of value for Laszlo to even tell how much his pizza might be worth, right? So people were already trading. There was, the incident where Bitcoin kind of, monetizes, right? Someone decides, hey, I've been mining these Bitcoins. How much are they worth? He asks to do a trade in US dollars, completes that trade. And, from that, you have Pizza Day, right? So Bitcoin is a really iterative, community-driven project at all times, right? You always have people who are building off the achievements of others. And certainly Laszlo is, pretty much the culmination, I think, of that early Bitcoin period.
So it's crazy to see how we've been 15 years in Bitcoin. Out of all those 15 years, which ones do you think have impacted the community most?
2017 is still the big year. I say a lot, if you have a opinion about Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency world in general, 2017 is pretty much the definitive year. It's really the year where Bitcoin and crypto splits, right? You have this kind of community that prior to that is really together, right? I think there's a lot of people today who maybe don't know, but I was on the same stage as, Adam Back and Joe Lubin at the same time. These were people who would have gone to conferences together. They would have spoken at events together, and there was this kind of communal spirit back then, right? There wasn't enough of us to disagree with each other. So if you were working on cryptocurrency stuff, it was very much kind of mixed together, right? The money really changed things. In 2017, when ICOs came out, you had hundreds of coins that were basically copies of other things making, hundreds of millions of dollars from doing nothing. That's really kind of been the cultural divide, and I think it's interesting. We still live with that today. I kind of say that there's a Berlin Wall. It's Bitcoin and crypto. I think you're seeing that wall kind of wobble a little bit, and I think people on both sides of the wall are unsure about the current state of things. But I think that's what makes it exciting. We're always living during history,
So we've seen Laszlo in a couple interviews. He talks about how, he's not into that Bitcoin stuff anymore. Do you think that's it's his way to maintain his anonymity,
Well, I mean, certainly with that type of prestige, right? He was on national television telling the story. And I think maybe lesser known about Laszlo is that he actually bought multiple pizzas, right? He might have bought as many as 6 to 8 pizzas for $10,000, so 10,000 Bitcoin each. So, it's possible Laszlo could have spent upwards of 50,000 Bitcoin on pizza. But also the thing to remember is Laszlo, was a pretty wealthy in Bitcoin terms back then, right? So one of the things that he did was that he essentially was the first person to convert his graphics card to mine with Bitcoin, right? So back then everybody was mining with laptops, and Laszlo said to himself, hey, I have this, video game graphics card sitting around. Maybe I can reformat this to mine more Bitcoin than everyone else. And he did. He was winning 1 in 4 Bitcoin blocks at the time, and it was actually Satoshi's prodding to say to, hey, Laszlo, you might want to give something back to the community that even inspired his pizza purchase. So interesting fact there. But yeah, I think that if Laszlo even retained a small amount of his Bitcoin, I think he's likely living a comfortable life.